What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin Sports with Jake. Hope we're all doing well. Talk about some baseball scores from yesterday. Dodgers over the Reds 6-0. Rays over the Twins 4-2. Giants over the Rockies 6-4. Phillies over the Tigers 3-2. Blue Jays over the Astros 3-2. Braves over the Mets 13-10 in 10 innings. Crazy game. Walk off 3-run homer from trying to think, forgot who it was. I really watched the game last night for the Braves. Ozzy Albies who hit the walk-off 3-run homer. Off Tommy Hunter in a 10th. Crazy game. Braves came back down 9-5 in that game. Absolutely wild game. I have more to say about the Mets shortly. Diamondbacks Nationals got rained out. I was going to say maybe that was because of the smog from the Canadian wildfire, but one team plays in Arizona, one team plays in Washington. Wouldn't affect them. It's only in the Northeast. Baltimore beats the Milwaukee Brewers 6-3. Orioles are playing some really good baseball. White Sox and Yankees had a doubleheader. Game 1, White Sox won 6-5. Severino didn't pitch. Greg gave up 4 runs over 5 innings. And then the second game, Yankees shut out the White Sox 3-0. Guardians over the Red Sox 10-3, and the Angels over the Cubs 3-1. Right, do want to talk more about the Mets? I want to talk about the Oakland Athletics. If you want to call it a baseball team anymore, they are a complete dumpster fire. They are trying to relocate to Las Vegas, but their bill is having trouble passing through legislation. The Nevada Senate, they were talking. They were in session for about 3 days. They adjourned yesterday without voting on the bill. They are looking for $380 million in public funding. The bill needs to pass through the Senate as well as the Assembly and then get not voted on, but then approved by the governor. So it's a little bit tricky. Most teams, usually it's like private organizations that are funding. They fund Oakland wants. They need to raise $80 million from a public fund, and you got taxpayers that are worried. Doesn't raise their taxes. Apparently, it's not supposed to, but taxpayers are worried. It's a whole mess. But as of right now, the Oakland's, I guess their plea or their bill for a new stadium is hit a bit of a wall. Tough spot for Oakland. They obviously got to get out of Oakland. They're a complete dumpster fire. But the Nevada Senate isn't voting on it yet. They're in a really tough spot. I just hope they can figure out something because they need to get out of Oakland. Something needs to be done about that franchise. Got Anthony Bass was designated for assignment by the Toronto Blue Jays. He recently, I think it was about week and a half or 2 weeks ago, he went a little bit viral he made a post on Instagram saying that people should boycott Target and Bud Light because of the whole LGBTQ Bud Light campaign. And he got some pushback for that. He said he apologized for it and said that he would, he's trying to educate himself. He got then his next appearance after that, this is back on May 30th, he got booed, which I don't think is right. I don't think this was that horrendous. And he said that he does stand by his personal beliefs. The headline's very, very, I didn't like the headline. This is Anthony Bass CFA by Blue Jays. He shared a post, an anti-LGBTQ post. He got DFA'd because he's a 4.95 ERA in 22 games. He has not had a very good season. So they now have a week to place him on waivers. They could either trade him. I think if he has options, he can. If he has options, they can. If no one claims him, he will report to AAA. Or they could place him on. They're probably going to try to trade and get something for him, or if not, he'll be on waivers. He has options. He may go back to AAA. If not, then he'll probably be a free agent. He's free to sign with anybody he would like. Astros DH Jordan Alvarez, their star player. He's on the IL. He's got an oblique injury. Obliques can be tough. So hopefully he's not too long for the Astros' sake, but he's on the IL. And Pete Alonso got hit by a pitch in the wrist. Didn't play. So he's also going on the IL. At first they said, he got hit in the wrist, came out of the game. This was on Wednesday, and yesterday he He didn't play. He had a CAT scan. Went by, the X-rays he had right after he got hit were negative. He had a CAT scan Thursday. They sent him back to New York because they're playing in Atlanta this week to have an MRI. And at first they said that he was David Day. Alonso said he believes that he dodged a bullet. And manager Buck Showalter said that he was still hopeful that Alonso would play today against the Pittsburgh Pirates. But obviously that won't be the case. He was placed on a 10-day IL if they left wrist injury. Now to the Mets. The Mets need to be better. Simple as that. 3 times against the Braves. They just got swept by Braves. They've lost 6 in a row. You lost 3 straight to Toronto, then 3 straight to Atlanta. They're now 30-33. 3 games under 500 on June 9th. They're 8.5 games out of first place. Still right there in the wild card race. They're going a couple of games out of a wild card spot. And there's still a lot of games to be played. Still there are 99 games to go. But they have been pitiful to this point. That's the only way to really put it, if I'm being completely honest. Absolutely terrible. Biggest series of the year. To this point, obviously, there's not a lot of series in, early June that are super, super, super important. But this was the biggest one so far. The Mets came in, trailing Atlanta by 5.5 games in the division. The team, obviously, they, were able to beat a bunch last year, but then didn't win when it mattered. They lost some big games to Atlanta down the stretch last year. They blew a division lead to Atlanta down the stretch. Obviously there's a lot of tension between the Mets and the Braves, very fierce rivals in the National League East. A lot of stuff has happened recently in the last year or two between those teams because they've just been going at each other, both for a while. It was, Atlanta was always really good. The Mets were bad for a couple of years. The Mets were pretty good, like they were okay, and then Atlanta was bad, and then Atlanta got good again. The Mets weren't very good, and now they're both finally really good. While the rivalry has really picked up recently, and they got swept. They led by 3 runs in both games. They went up. They went down. They went up, I think, 4-1 in the first game, and then Scherzer gave up like 4 or 5 runs in the 6th inning. You end up losing that game 6-4. Went up 4-1 on the game on Wednesday, and then Carrasco gave up a couple of runs in the 6th, and they went to Drew Smith, who gave up 2 more. And then they ended. I don't know. That might have been Scherzer. I forget who started which game, but then they ended up losing. They ended up losing that game 7-5. But yeah, they were up 4-0. The Braves came back and took a 5-4 lead. They tied it 5-5, and Ottavino gives up a home run to Michael Harris in the 8th inning, lose 7-5, and they were up 9-5. It was a crazy game. They went down 3-0 in the first inning, and then they jumped up to a 6-3 lead. Nano had a grand slam. Bay drove a run, and then I think somebody else drove on a run. Made it 6-3. We'd eventually got to 9-5, and then the Mets blew it. David Robinson gave up a 2-run homer. They tried to get 5 outs, which they got, but he gave up a game time home run in the bottom of the 9th. Mets, obviously, you got the free runner, which, by the way, stupidest rule in baseball. I kind of got it during the pandemic year. Why they've kept it after the pandemic season, I have no clue. Baseball, please get rid of that rule. It is so stupid. It is so dumb. You want to use that? That's something like maybe like in Little League, you want to use that. Fine. Maybe in like high school ball, but like that rule should not be used in games past like high school ball. Like I don't even think you should use it in college baseball. So stupid, so dumb. Please get rid of that, Rob Manfred. Please. The rule is so dumb and stupid. A team should not be in the top of 10th, with one swing, be able to go up by 2 runs. Like that's dumb. Like the bottom of 10th tie game, you should be able to hit a single and win the game. It's so dumb. Right second, nobody out. You should. It's very easy to score at least 1 run, and the Mets go right in order on the top of 10th, and the bottom of the 10th. Cunningham was trying to work through some trouble. He had 2 on, 2 out, and then he gives up a bomb to Albies to lose the game. Absolutely terrible. The first time in the history of the New York Mets that they, for 3 straight games, had at least a 3-run lead, and they lost all 3 times. They've been absolutely terrible. I know they had a lot of injuries, obviously losing the league's best closer when Diaz right before the season in spring training during the Royal Baseball Classic, him celebrating with his teammates, had a freak injury, really hurt. The effects of the injury are really starting to feel that. Even Robinson now, back to back out. He's giving up runs. He's starting to get overworked. Ottavino's giving up some big home runs. Drew Smith is struggling. Older deaf guys. Brigham and Tommy Hunter and Nogosek are all overworked. I mean, they've had to go to them way too often because of their injuries in the starting rotation, the deficiencies in the starting rotation. They should not be counting on Steven Nogosek to get them 6 or 7 or 6 to 8 outs multiple times a week. That's not a recipe for success at all. Their offense has been inconsistent. Their rotation has been terrible. By the way, Justin Verlander, he needs to be better. He's been terrible. He missed the first month of the year with an injury he had in spring training. He was abysmal last night. Absolutely terrible. He got 5 runs in 3 innings. He had like 4 or 5 walks. He walked 4 guys in 1 inning and threw up not their inning. There were 80 pitches in 3 innings. He was absolutely horrendous. To me, the loss was on him. Can't blame the offense. Yes, they did. Yes, they didn't get a hit in the 10th inning when he had a runner scoring to start the inning in a tie game. But they scored 10 runs on 14 hits. You can't blame the offense last night. And that's without your best hitter in Pete Alonso, who didn't play. And now he's going to be out probably he's out at least the next 10 days. Yes, the bullpen wasn't great. A lot of guys gave up runs. Smith gave up a home run. Robertson gave up the game time home run. Hunter gave up the big one. For almost every reliever, I think maybe besides Nogosek, and forgot if he gave up a run or not. They all didn't really pitch great. But to their credit, but Buck tried. I'll get to his post-game comments in a minute that I didn't like, but as for the games, he tried. When your ace goes 3 innings, you're put in a tough spot. This series he had Carrasco only went 5. He didn't record out in the 6th inning. He started the 6th inning, he gave up a couple of hits, started the inning, and took him out. Scherzer came out in the 6th inning. They need Verlander. Didn't have Ottavino as being your top setup man this year. Overall, probably your 3rd best reliever this year behind Robertson. And I would say Bruce Reilly's probably even been your 2nd best reliever overall. You didn't have him. So they neither wanted to go deep. I'm sure that's what they were expecting to get at least 6, if not 7 innings. And he goes out and gives you 3 innings, was absolutely terrible. That can't happen. So he tried. He went he went to Nogosek for an inning or an inning and 3rd. I'm not sure if he went to somebody else in that back of that bullpen, maybe Brigham or something. And then he went to Smith, and he missed him at Smith and Raley. Raley was pretty good, but Smith gave up a 2-run homer. Then he went to Robinson with 1 out in the 8th, and Robertson just I mean he's been overworked to this point, and he had nobody left. I mean, I'm Alvia wasn't available. I don't think Dominic Leone was available. He sucks anyway. So he had no choice but go to Tommy Hunter, maybe their worst reliever. Tie game in the bottom of the 10th, the winning run on second base to start the inning, and what do you expect to happen? As soon as Gary Cohen was saying on top of the 10th as the Mets were struggling to I think there was 2 outs it's mostly gonna be Tommy Hunter for the Mets considering how many relievers the Mets have used. I was thinking if the Mets don't score at least 2 runs, this game's over. Tommy Hunter is so absolutely bad. And then I see him trot out there. They show his stats. He already have 6 and 12 games. This game's not going to end well. He was able to get to 2 outs with 1st and 3rd or something. Thought maybe he might squeeze through it, and then he threw a 91-mile-per-hour cutter right down the middle to Ozzie Albies. What you expect to happen? And of course, the ball was hit deep into right field, home run. Absolutely terrible. They got to be better. Their offense needs to be more consistent. I know Alonso's out now, but they still got to pick up the slack. They still got a talented enough lineup. And Verlander, I know he's 40 years old, but he's been back for a month. Come on, ship in or ship out. Scherzer can't be on out there and giving up 5 or 6 runs in 5 innings like he did last time. Scherzer, I know he's 38, but he's still a great pitcher. Supposed to be a stud. They're paying those 2 combined almost $100 million. They got to go out there and anchor this rotation. Kawhi Senga has paid a lot of money. If Senga seems 1 start, he goes out there, he's unhittable. He's 6 or 7 really good innings. The next start, he gives up 4 runs in 4 or 5 innings, walks 4 guys. he's got to be more consistent. Carrasco, I think, has been pitching better. I know Quintana's still out. We won't see him till for at least probably another month or so. Tyler McGill is what he is, but they're veteran stars in their rotation. Scherzer, Verlander, Senga, they need to be better, and their bullpen needs to be better. I'm not even blaming Robinson. He's been great. And there was a year I probably jumped. It was 1.4 about a week ago. Then it was like 1.75 heading into the game. I think now it's probably maybe just about 2, if not a little over. I'm not blaming him for the last 2 outings. So he's had to work a lot more than he thought. He thought he would be the setup guy, the 8th or 7th or 8th inning guy heading into the season when they signed him, and then Diaz goes down. And now he had to close, and because of how bad the rotation has been, they've had to use him for more than 3 outs. You usually don't want to use early in the season a guy from you're close to more than 3 outs that much. You want to do that to at least probably July or August. He wants consistently. Even Diaz last year. Buck went to him like down the stretch, probably like starting like August or so. He would go to him for more than 3 outs, more consistently, a little bit more consistently. Diaz also had an incredible year last year, but even before the All-Star, he would use him a couple of times here and there, but it wasn't that many times. And Robinson's had to do it in back-to-back out in the last 2 outings. They're a little bit spaced out, but still. Reale's been very good, but Ottavino has given up too many big home runs. Smith hasn't been good enough. He's been really inconsistent, and just the rest of his bullpen isn't good. Brigham was like a fringe guy in Miami. He's been okay. Tommy Hunt's been horrible. Nagosic hasn't been that good. Leon's been horrible. Who else is even in that bullpen? You look offensively. Obviously Alvarez has been great. Alonso's been great. Bay's been good. He got to a hot start, and he struggled for a while. Now with less, he had a good series. He's got to be more consistent. Lindor needs to be better. I know he had a much better series after he's been in a deep slump. He had a pretty good series. Hopefully, he's coming out of his slump now, but he needs to be better. Marquez getting hot. Khan needs to be better. Also, I love Buck, but his comments saying, "Oh yeah, I'm proud of him. I see the positive." Dude, shut up. Okay, that's a ridiculous statement. He's way too soft. Okay, what are you proud of? That sounds like when in Little League, when like the kids are 10 years old in like 10U Little League, and they lose 18-0. The game only went 3 innings because of like the Mercers you had in Little League. Still a 2-hour game because it was 18-0. It was 46 walks in the game. And the manager's like, "Good job, guys. I'm proud of the progress that we're making. And we lost 18-0 instead of 24-0. Like, no, this is the major leagues. You can't play this way. The players seem more, invested than Bucky. You saw, David Robinson was like, we're not playing well and we know it. Verlander said, hey, I gotta be better. It's been frustrating for me because I've been working really hard. You could, Neville said, we gotta try to turn this around. Like all the players are definitely frustrated and they know they gotta play better. And then your manager, who's been in this business a long time, he's been, involved in baseball since at least the early 90s, if not going back further. He's been the manager for probably close to 20 years, if not more than 20 years in this league. He tried to. He did a great job last year. They brought him in, did a phenomenal job, led the Mets to the playoff. Was manager of the year, did a great job last year, and this year, he hasn't had the same magic touch he had last year. His decision making, I haven't loved his decision making as much as I loved it last year, and it just hasn't quite been the same. I'm not really blaming him for the loss last night. When your ace goes out and pitches that bad, there's only so much you can do. He tried to piece it together best he could. Just comes after the game. Like you can't go out this. Oh yeah, I'm proud of them. I see this as a positive. There was nothing positive to take out of the series. I'm sorry, there just wasn't. Okay, cool. You had a big offensive game. And you scored 10 runs last night. Cool. You still lost. Doesn't matter. That's need to be better. It is June 9th. They got 7-3 at the Pirates, and they have 7-2 at the Yankees. I think they have the Cardinals coming up, and then Houston, then Philly. The Yankees are a good team. They all dealt with a lot of injuries. Whatever the record will be a little better, but still they've been good. They've been like a playoff contender. Yankees expect to be a World Series contender, of course, but so that's a series. Obviously, a Subway series. That one will be tough. Obviously, Houston's playing great. They're a great team. That'll be tough, but the Pirates, who have been better than expected, they've gotten great relief pitching. They're still a team that the Mets should beat. The Phillies, the Mets just swept like a week or two ago. They're not very good. The Cardinals have not been good this year. Over this next stretch, these next probably doing the math in my head, 12, 14, 15, 17 games that'll probably take us through most of the month. If they don't start playing better, this is a team that could find at least 5 or 6 games out of the playoffs come July, which now puts them in trouble. They need to be better. On to hockey. Stanley Cup final game 3 last night. Florida Panthers defeat the Vegas Golden Knights 3-2 in overtime. After Kachuk had a goal. He had a game-tying goal sent to overtime with a little over 2 minutes left. His 11th goal of the postseason. He's been great for the Florida Panthers. Carter Verhaeghe, game winner in overtime. He set a couple of game winners, I think, in overtime this postseason. It was his 4th goal of the playoffs. He's played very well. Sergei Bobrovsky, 25 saves. He had a bounce back game after struggling in the first 2 games of the series. He's been great this postseason. So Florida keep themselves in the series. Vegas series lead is now down to 2-1. Game 4 is going to be very interesting. Florida's going to be cranking, I'm sure. Was a great game. You have a trade. The New Jersey Devils trade Damon Severson, defenseman, to the Columbus Blue Jackets. Columbus signed him to an 8-year deal. Severson was probably going to be the best D-man available in the free agent market. He had a solid year this year. 7 goals, 26 assists, 33 points. 2 years ago, I had a great year. 11 goals, 35 assists, 46 points. So he did a step back for Severson. I think he fell a little bit on the depth chart. The previous 4 seasons, he averaged at least 22 minutes a game. He averaged just under 20 minutes a game, 19 minutes, 57 seconds per game, which is only 4th on his own team, behind Dougie Hamilton, John Marino, and Jonas Siegenhofer. So I guess the Devils, probably didn't fit in their long-term plans. So they move him. They get a 3rd-round pick. It's pick 80 in this year's draft. Columbus definitely try to improve their blue line, which has been horrible for a couple of years now. One of the big reasons why they had the worst record in the Eastern Conference last year. Of course, they're moving on to a new coach, moving on to Mike Babcock from Brad Larson. I'm trying to shore up that D-line, so you make the move to get Ivan Provorov, who's a good young defenseman from the Flyers. Now you got another real solid defenseman, Damon Severson, who you signed to an 8-year deal as soon as you get him from the New Jersey Devils. Andreas Afanasio re-signed the Blackhawks on a 2-year deal, so he's staying in Chicago. And the Toronto Maple Leafs have hired Shane Doan to be a front office advisor. He was a long-time Arizona Coyotes player. He was there forever. On to basketball, Suns are looking to trade Chris Paul. There was a report that came out that they were going to waive him. Then a report came out and said, haven't waived him yet, still weighing their options. They're looking to trade him. My guess is they're going to try to trade him, and if they can't, they will waive him. That's my guess. But he'll most likely not be on the Suns next year. Heard they're also looking to trade Ayton. I don't expect Iyer to be on the team next year. Of course, they have a new coach, and they're bringing in Frank Vogel. They're moving on from Monty Williams. But I don't expect Chris Paul or DeAndre Ayton to be on the Suns next year, especially Chris Paul. The Denver Nuggets made a bit of a weird trade with the Thunder. They did a draft pick swap. They got pick 37 in the second round this year's draft. They get Thunder's least favorable first rounder in 2024. Thunder could have 4 first rounders in 2024. They get a second round pick in 2024, and Denver sends to Oklahoma City a protected first rounder in 2029. NBA Finals Game 4 is tonight. Denver leads 2-1. That'll be in Miami. Vikings officially cut Dalvin Cook. A report came in yesterday that they were going to try to trade him. And if they didn't trade him by today, they would cut him. So he is now a free agent. Vikings still owe him $2 million. So my guess is Cook will probably take his time because he's getting paid either way a little bit. But I heard Miami could be a suitor. If they could use an upgrade running back, that would make that offense absolutely unstoppable. Mike McDaniels had a very confusing press conference about that. You guys should watch it. It was very confusing. Cook posted a picture on Instagram. It was him walking into the tunnel, kind of like as well like saying goodbye to the Vikings. It was at Hard Rock Stadium where the Dolphins play. I'm not sure if that's where he wants to go. To me, the Bills could be a fit. They could use an upgraded running back, but I don't really know if the Buffalo has the money to sign him. I know the Jets head coach Robert Saleh said the Jets are going to consider signing him. And Breece Hall's an electric young back, but he's coming off a major injury. Cook could fill in if Paul needs to miss sort of a season, and maybe you use him as a. I don't know if you platoon the two. When they come back, that makes an already dangerous offense even better. I would love just like Cook. That would give them an insanely talented offense. I heard Denver could be a suitor of Javonte Williams coming off an injury. He might miss the start of the year. They have some P right there. Cook, will be an automatic upgrade. That could, that ensures you had a really good running game. Along with Russell Wilson playing absolutely terrible last year, you also obviously he had bad coaching of Hackett. You get him out of there. You get a real coach in Sean Payton. Your receiving core will be a little more healthier. KJ Hamler for now is healthy, but he seems to be always going to get Tim Patrick back. The O-line, which struggled last year, is much better. You brought in Mike McGlinchey and Nate Davis in free agency. And now, the older running backs were hurt last year. You lose Javonte. Melvin Gordon was just absolutely horrible, and he got cut. Mike Boone was on Yeah, he had to pick somebody up off the free agent market, I think, middle of the season, just to so they could field a running back group. Now you have Javonte coming back. You sign P. Ryan, you sign Cook. That'll definitely help the running game. And at this point, they're telling Russ, you had everything you need. No excuses. Get this team back to the playoffs. The Rams signed DeMarcus Robinson to a 1-year deal. Rams, I'm going to rep in for Stafford. He's a solid third receiver. He was pretty good for the Ravens last year. He stepped up, I thought, considering all the injuries to the receivers. He had Teller Huntley as his quarterback for a bunch of last year. Bryce Young has been named QB1 in Carolina, so that's kind of expected. Usually rookies they start as the second or third guy on my depth chart, just so they have to earn it, and that's what Bryce Young's done so far. Frank Reich has liked what he's seen from it in training camp, and we'll see where that goes. And Frank Clark has signed with the Denver Broncos. He's a very good pass rusher. 1 year up to $7.5 million. Kansas City cut him early in the offseason as a cap casualty. They tried to agree to a pay cut. He actually, the year prior, agreed to a pay cut to stay in Kansas City. They wanted him to take another pay cut, and Clark didn't want to do it, so they cut him. And he's going to the Denver Broncos, making an already really good defense even better. Before I wrap up, let's talk about Monday Night Raw from this Monday. We had the main event was Seth Rollins versus Damian Priest for the World Heavyweight Championship. Started out with a promo. Rollins was doing his thing. Then Priest and Balor came out. And then, Seth Rollins was like, why are you guys always together? I know you're boys. He joked, did you guys always hold the door for each other? And he was like, Priest, why you leave the rest of the Judgment Day in the back when you do this? Balor was like, oh, you don't get to choose. And then Priest said, yo, it's okay. They'll stay in the back. I'll fight you one-on-one. I'm going to beat you. And then Rollins took a shot at Balor, saying, even if my reign was really short, it'd be longer than Finn Balor's, who, of course, famously the first ever Universal Champion. But then he got injured, so he had to drop a title the next day. That was kind of funny. And then Rollins ended up beating Priest. At one point Finn Balor came out, tried to interfere. Rollins super kicked him in the face. But when he got back in the ring, Priest hit him with a move. Rollins kicked out. Priest then went to Balor. He looked upset. He's like, well, why are you here? I told you to stay in the back. And then off that slight distraction, Rollins ended up knocking Priest to the ground, and he hit him with a curb. Well, what's his name? Not curb stomp. With a stomp, and that was the match. It was a very good match, but Rollins retains the World Heavyweight title. Other matches, we had the Money in the Bank qualifying match. Becky Lynch defeats Sonya Deville, so she'll be in the Money in the Bank match. Gunther defeat Kevin Owens. They had a little argument backstage. Then you had Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler in a tag team match. They're women's tag team champ. They beat the two new ladies, Katana Chance and Kaden Carter. There's a lot Carter in the Fuda clutch. That was a pretty quick match. Ricochet and Shinsuke Nakamura had a match. Bronson Reed attacked them both. Of course, he's got beef with both. Ricochet and Bronson were going at, and Ricochet made fun of Bronson Reed for losing his Money in the Bank qualifying match to Nakamura. And Nakamura said, then came over and made fun of Bronson Reed. So you pissed both. So he attacked them both, middle of the match. So the end of the no contest. Cody Rhodes appeared on Miz TV. They discussed, his match with Brock Lesnar. Then Miz called out Dom Mysterio and Rhea Ripley, and Dom Mysterio called him a bad father. Then Rhodes fired back at Dom Mysterio saying Ray's only mistake was you. And then they were going to leave the ring, but then Dom smacked Cody Rhodes in the face. And Cody Rhodes took his anger out on the Miz by taking his cast on his arm and smashing Miz in the face with it, knocking him out. So we'll see where that goes. Zoe Stark defeats Natalya in the Money in the Bank qualifying match because Zoe Stark is Trish Stratus' newest pupil / partner. And she beat Natalya. And then Indus Sher beat the crap out of Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin for their tag team match. It's Jinder Mahal, two buddies, two big guys. So that match never happened. All right, that's all I got for you guys today. Until next time, so long. Have a great day.